just remember that when you're calling these people, that you genuinely have the ability to help them. Like, at which point where if they're not interested, it's almost their loss, or if they're not going to pick up or they hang up, or then you just need to consider it to not negatively impact what you're doing, but just remind yourself that it's a shame because I genuinely could have helped that person. And it comes from having conviction in your abilities and what you can actually do for them. I think it's the same on sales calls. You never want to seem desperate. You always want to make sure you're the one that maintains the authority and almost not the urgency and the scarcity, but it's like what you're saying. I can change your life, or I can do X, Y, and Z to your business. Like, I have the ability to do it. I've done it on my own store. I've coached X amount of people who have also done it as well. The proof is in the pudding, and it almost sells itself. So I think if you just focus on the product, like what you're saying, whether it be an Ecom product or a personal brand, and build something that, based on feedback, is the best possible version that it can be, may not be perfect, but you're working towards perfecting something based on the feedback that you're getting, you can't really go wrong.
100%. I think you touched on something there that is really important. It's like, if you know you can help someone, it's massive. And that's probably my secret. I read a book, it's called Millionaire Fastlane, and it's basically around like the secret to getting rich is to help people. So you can either help people in two ways. So you help them through scale or through magnitude. So helping them was obviously, helping people is basically just solving problems, and your problem can be a service, i.e. helping them run ads, or it could be a product, i.e. for instance a dropshipping product, a backcracker that alleviates obviously physical pain, but it could be something else that eliminates our mental pain. So that's solving problems. And so if you want to help a lot of people, help them solve a lot of problems, and you can do it through scale or magnitude. So scale is obviously sell a £25 product 100,000 times and you'll make millions. Or it could be through magnitude, sell a high ticket thing for 10k and help a small amount of people, and you'll still make millions. So the more people you can help, either through a service or through a product, that's how you make money, because you trade value. Let's say I've been paid £4,000, and we touched on it obviously earlier off camera. Like, if someone, you're going to obviously run ads for someone, you're saying, how long you got to spend running ads? It's not about how long it's going to take, it's about what you're getting. So it's like, if you ever have like a leak or your sink's blocked in your house, and you send a plumber and he comes, one tap of the spanner, that's it fixed, and you're like, why am I paying £500 for that? It's not because the 10 seconds it took him, it's all the 10 years it took him to learn how to do that. And so you get paid in direct proportion to the size of the problems you solve. So if you want to make a lot of money, solve big problems, or you can go work in McDonald's and flip burgers.
That's so true. It's so true. You need to be able to provide people with an outcome, which really is just sales 101. Really isn't. 101 is really just selling them on the outcome of the service that you provide or the product that you're providing. And like we're saying, we touched on earlier, like, that is the most frustrating thing for me, when you're on a sales call and you tell someone what you're going to charge them to provide them with all of this value or hit a certain revenue target, and you're projecting revenue, and they're like, but how many hours are you going to spend if that's what you're charging me? It's like, that is the most illogical thing you could possibly say, when what I'm projecting here is revenue growth in line with your KPIs, and now you're trying to pick up on any little thing, which is, but are you going to spend 4 hours a month or 8 hours to get me to that goal? It doesn't matter. What we're focusing on is the goal and where we're going to get you. So time should be irrelevant. What you should really be focusing on is the outcome. If I'm able to solve this problem for you, is that not worth X, regardless of how much time it takes me? Yeah. How much time is it going to take you?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. That's, like you say, it is a logical thinking, but you need to understand that is the thinking of the majority of people. That's why they're in the position that they're in. And so, like you say, they always think, how much time are you spending on me with this? It's not about the time, it's about the values. And until people realise that you need to detach your time from money, that's how you get rich. I spend, that's quite a lot of questions I get. People DM me, how much time do I need to spend doing drop shipping? I'm like, mate, I spend 15 minutes a day. And if I say to someone, look, I spend 15 minutes a day and I make 60k a month, they think that's a lie. That's a complete lie. But it's true. Like, you think about it, if you're working 40 hours a week and you're earning £400, you already know that hard work isn't the key to success or how to get rich. You need to first of all detach your time from money and sell a product or sell a service, something that doesn't require you to be physically there. Obviously, I can be sat at my laptop 12 hours a day, but that's not going to make me any more sales. Instead, just like refreshing the Shopify dashboard. So yeah, detach your time from money, and a lot of people don't realise that, because if that was the key to kind of getting rich, everyone would be rich. They'd just be like 150 or 200 year olds. And so I think, especially if you want to get rich young, obviously young is relative, but and obviously rich is relative, but if you want to have enough money to do what you want, when you want, where you want, you need to kind of get rich young, and you need to do that by detaching your time and money. Like, I'm obviously 22 years old and I'm retired, or what I would call retired. Like, I do what I love. And so it's like, what was that TV program, MTV Cribs? You ever heard of that? So it's like, they'd always chap on the door, and the person would answer is usually a celebrity, usually a rapper, an actor. It was never the person that works in 9 to 5. It was never the person that works just the standard route, because it's impossible. You'll never find someone with a big house and all the cars who's rich by going down a traditional path. Because if you do what everyone else does, you'll have what everyone else has, which is nothing. So the fact that it's always rappers, actors, or all these kind of celebrities, it's because they've done something different. You need to go down the unconventional route if you want to have like the kind of things that, like the fancy cars, the houses, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that is obviously a very important point that you highlighted, like detach your time from the outcome.
You remember when we met for coffee about a week ago, I relayed that Tate quote to you where he says, everything, I'm at the point now where everything in my life is free, or something along those lines. And that for me took me a little while to understand that. And I think when we went back and forth on it, when I was explaining to you, he has truly leveraged his time so much, or even to the point where he's leveraging other people's time to make him money through info products, through other businesses, God knows however many things he's got going on, to the point now where he's probably got businesses that run without any input from him at all. So any money generated by those businesses are essentially free. He has so much money at this point that everything in the world is free because he's not investing any time to earn money. So do you know what I mean? When you really start to think of it like that, what most people do, unfortunately, is trade their money for time. If you really think about it, they'll go to work, maybe get paid X amount a month. So when they're buying things, they're thinking, oh, this costs, like really, if you think about it, this costs 4 hours of my time, this costs 8 hours of my time, at which point something seems expensive. When you're earning money with no input from yourself, it's free. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Because you're not trading your time.
Yeah, 100%. I was literally, that's, like you say, obviously everything's free. That's like obviously what Tate's kind of quote, but it's 100% true. And like you obviously touched on there, if me and me, not me and you, but if I walked into Louis Vuitton and a homeless person walked into Louis Vuitton and, or maybe not a homeless person, just a standard 95 person, let's say, and they earn £1,500 a month, and we go to buy a duffel, and it's £1,500, they'll say, oh, that's a lot of money. And they think that's a lot of money because they've spent, it's a month. Whereas if I make £3,000 a day, that's nothing. It's cheap. And so how can one thing, which is the same price, have two completely different perspectives? So it's all about like how hard you've worked for that money. And I'm at the stage now where obviously my rent in my apartment is £4,500 a month, and to most people that seems ridiculous, a complete waste of money. But if you make that in 2 days, it's cheap. It's all relative. So I definitely think it's, like you touched on there, perspective is massive. And let's say when I was in Mykonos, I was actually chatting to my girlfriend about this the other day. I was like, in Mykonos, I think that was my month where I started scaling up. I think I maybe done like 70k revenue, around £24,000 profit, and I was buzzing. I thought I was the richest person. Mykonos is expensive, £25 for a cocktail and stuff, but I was chilling, you know, like living up and on top of the world. Whereas last month was what I would call not a bad, well, I thought it was a bad month, and in profit I just made just over 30,000. And I was thinking, it's crazy how I've made more money, but I feel worse. So it's all about perspective. And obviously we touched on off camera at the coffee, like you were saying, you feel like the money hasn't caught up to yourself, and I do think that is obviously a brilliant point, because you're focused on inputs and that kind of thing. But I don't know where I was going with that. But in terms of like the inputs, I'll just go on that then. So like if you do control the inputs, so imagine like the Mercedes factory, right? So if Mercedes are trying to create a G-Wagon, if every time their inputs are, let's change the chassis, let's change the steering wheel, let's change the brake calipers, that process, so inputs, process, outputs, the output, if they change it every time, it's got to create a different car. So you're never able to replicate your kind of success. But I have no idea where I was going with that.
Yes, I'll add something to the top of that, because I always find like tweets or things people say always hit me at the right time. And something I screenshotted the other day was Luke Belmar, and he posted on Twitter, money is a lagging indicator of success. You know, you might have all of the right daily inputs now, but it's just delayed gratification. It's not quite caught up with you yet. Maybe it's slightly different with dropshipping, or yes or no. I feel like dropshipping, once you have a product and you're getting those sales, you can quite quickly see where it's going. I think sometimes with a service, it maybe doesn't scale up just as quick, or at least maybe not in my particular instance, but that doesn't mean that the daily inputs are incorrect. It just means that they've not compounded and it's not turned into a monetary value yet. But if you understand that, there's another good quote from Charlie Morgan. I'm turning into you now with all these quotes, but you've dropped some good ones. I was going to ask where you get them all from. Charlie Morgan says, he asks a question. He's like, how do you scale? He's like, well, what is scale? It's an increase in volume. So if you're providing a good service and you can provide a good service and you have complete conviction in what you do, but you're unable to get more clients, it's not that you have a problem with service delivery. Making more improvements to that isn't going to help. You just have a client acquisition issue, which means you just don't have enough inbound leads. You don't have enough leads coming in. So I got caught up with this on the agency, always focusing on service delivery, providing the best possible service we can. There's only so much you can keep improving, but that's not going to grow your business. You need to focus on the biggest levers for growth, which are increasing the volume of inbound leads. So you need to increase your outbound efforts, all the things that you're doing for inbound. So now I've pivoted entirely, purchased a course on how to personal brand on Twitter, doing things like the podcast, which started as a passion project. But if I really think about it, well, it is still helping.
Lead generation, 100%. Just to go back to that point you're talking about there. Yeah, I like to say there's two ways to catch butterflies. And so in this instance, that obviously analogy is to get leads. So your first way to catch butterflies is to go out, get a net and go and capture them, capture one, capture two. Takes a lot of time. And so that's the same way, cold DMing or cold outreach. The second way to catch butterflies or to get inbound is to create a garden and have a garden that's so good and butterflies will naturally come to it. And that's the same, like if you have such a good personal brand or you have provide so much value, people just got to come to work with you. And if you have a truly exceptional service or whatever you're offering, like if you create something, like you're going to have more like work than you can take on. And it's a way like people at the top, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo or whoever it may be, or all these models, like they've got thousands of girls or tens of thousands of girls wanting to sleep with them or whatever, whereas there's people who can't even get a kiss or get a bird. But that's because, like, how can one person have so much and one person have so little? It's just like, see if you do get to the top, you have so much coming in there's an overflow. So if you have like, it's like the people at the top always have too much, and like you say, the best way to kind of attract people is to stop trading your time from it and create something that's more leveraged. Like in all these podcast episodes or all your YouTube videos, whatever, they'll last forever and only compound. And it's more high leverage, and it's something obviously you probably know yourself. It's called the Pareto principle, which is like the 80-20 rule. So it's like 80% or 20% of inputs create 80% of outputs. So obviously with dropshipping, just as an example, when people come to me and they're going through like the program, they'll be like, oh, I'm stuck on the logo, or I'm kind of going through the domain, I don't know what to call it. Like that obviously matters to an extent, but it doesn't matter at all. No. So with the stuff that matters is your product good and can you run ads? That's basically in a nutshell what it is. Too many people focus on the small stuff like the policies, and it's just you need to focus on the high leverage activities. And I think that's obviously Hormozy. Obviously, I keep going back to him. Like he's probably someone I look up to in the sense of like a business sense, and he's all about leveraging. The more I kind of grew as an entrepreneur, I realized that like it's all about leveraging your time, and going back to that, you can buy other people's time and leverage theirs. So you can pay someone, I don't know, £400 a week or £500 a week, and that buys back all of your time, which you can spend doing other stuff.